We were over 30 miles from the nearest town when the road suddenly ended, and that's when we realized we weren't alone. This is Sinister Horror Diaries. These are 5 scary, true stories from people who found themselves stranded in the middle of nowhere with no way out. I didn't question it at first. That's the part that still scares me. Because if you're driving alone through the Nevada desert at 2:40 in the morning, running on fumes, with no signal and no lights for miles, you don't question hope when it appears. You grab it, even if it shouldn't exist. Especially if it shouldn't exist. I was hauling freight from Reno to Las Vegas, a route I'd driven dozens of times before, but that night felt wrong. The desert was too quiet, no wind, no animals, not even bugs hitting the windshield, just my engine and the ticking sound of my fuel gauge sliding lower. Empty desert surrounded me on all sides, no towns, no exits, no service. My GPS said the nearest gas station was 73 miles away. I had maybe 15 miles left in the tank. The low fuel alarm went off, that sharp, hateful beep. I slowed down, turned off the radio, cracked the window. Nothing. The air smelled old, like dust that hadn't moved in centuries. That's when I saw it. A glow, faint, yellow, barely there, off the highway. At first I thought my eyes were lying to me. A gas station in the middle of nowhere. No road signs, no access road, no markings on my GPS. Just a crooked building sitting in the desert like it had been dropped there. The sign flickered. Not a brand name, just the word gas. I pulled in slowly. The pumps were ancient, rust-eaten, paint peeled off decades ago. They didn't make a sound. No digital screens, no prices, no numbers. Just long hoses hanging like dead snakes. But the lights were on, and the building, it looked occupied. I stepped inside. The bell over the door didn't ring. The air was warm, too warm. No coolers, no shelves, no food, just a counter, and a man standing behind it. He was tall, thin, too still. He smiled when he saw me, but his smile didn't move his eyes, and he didn't blink. Not once. I asked if I could get fuel. He didn't answer. He just raised one finger and pointed toward the pumps. I went back outside. The pump handle felt cold, too cold. When I lifted it, fuel started flowing instantly. No buttons, no payment, just fuel. That's when I noticed the ground. The sand around the station was untouched. No tire tracks, none. Not from me, not from anyone. It was like the place had never been visited, or worse, like it didn't exist until I arrived. I turned back toward the building and froze. The station was gone. No lights, no pumps, no building. Just empty desert, but my truck was still filling. I dropped the nozzle, it hit the ground and vanished into the sand. The truck stopped filling. My tank was full. I climbed back into the cab and drove. I didn't look back. The highway appeared out of nowhere, like it had been waiting for me. My GPS reset itself, no station marked, no detour recorded, just a full tank. At my next stop, I checked the logs. No fuel transaction, no receipt, no record. The fuel was real, but it didn't come from anywhere. I still drive, but I never let the tank drop below half. And sometimes, on long desert roads, I see a flickering yellow light in the distance, and I don't stop. Because if that station saved me, I don't want to know what it took in return. And if you ever find yourself lost in the desert at night and see a gas station that isn't on any map, keep driving. Have you ever heard a voice that wasn't meant for you? A voice that didn't belong to anyone alive, but somehow knew your name? I have. And it almost broke me. It started at the Fire Lookout Tower in Montana, deep in the wilderness, more than 70 miles from the nearest town. There was nothing for miles, no roads, no neighbors, no other humans. Just me, my fellow interns, and the endless stretch of forest. And I swear, the forest wasn't empty. We thought this would be a simple assignment: monitor wildlife, take notes, enjoy a bit of solitude. But what we found instead was something waiting, something patient, and something that called to me in the dead of night. We arrived late in the afternoon, the sun already beginning to sink behind the mountains. The tower looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Wooden planks warped, paint peeling in long strips, the metal railing on the stairs rusted through in places. The smell of damp rot and pine was heavy in the air, filling the empty spaces like it had been waiting for someone to come along. The forest stretched endlessly around us, silent and unbroken. Even the birds were quiet. Only the whisper of wind through the trees disturbed the stillness. That first night, I couldn't sleep. Around 1 in the morning, I heard it for the first time. A sound drifting up from the trees, soft at first, almost like wind. But it wasn't wind. I froze, straining to listen. It was voices, not words I recognized, not any human language I'd ever heard, just chanting. Quiet, rhythmic, hypnotic. Somewhere between a song and a whisper, rising from deep in the forest below. I called out, "Hello, who's out there?" I laughed nervously, trying to sound brave, but the voices didn't answer. They just kept chanting, and in that moment, I realized the forest itself was alive with them, watching, waiting. I couldn't shake it. Curiosity, stupid, dangerous curiosity, got the better of me. I grabbed my flashlight and the radio, telling the others I'd go check the source. I told myself it was probably hikers, or maybe locals who had wandered too far. Anything rational. The wooden stairs creaked beneath my weight as I climbed down. Every step felt louder than it should, echoing into the darkness. The forest outside seemed impossibly dense, shadows stretching like fingers between the trees. The chanting grew louder as I moved toward the tree line. Each syllable sent a shiver down my spine, though I didn't understand the language. It wasn't meant to make sense. It was meant to call. Then, just as I reached the midpoint of the trail, everything stopped. The voices vanished instantly. Silence pressed in like a living thing. My heartbeat thumped in my ears. And then the radio. It crackled to life on its own, static and hiss at first. And then I heard it, my name, over and over, whispered, repeated, not just my name, but my fear, my attention, my very being. I froze, unable to move. Whatever it was, knew I was alone, knew my name, and wanted me to know it too. My legs felt like lead. I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't obey. The forest was still. The chanting had stopped, and the silence was worse, thicker, heavier, like it was trying to suffocate me. Then the radio whispered again, and this time it wasn't just static. A second voice joined, hollow, deep, unnatural, repeating my name alongside the eerie chanting that had followed me down the trail. I ran, faster than I've ever run, up the path, stumbling over roots, scraping my hands on bark, my flashlight bouncing wildly. My lungs burned, my heart felt like it would explode. When I finally reached the tower, I was shaking, panting, drenched in sweat. The others were there, watching, pale, frozen. You were just standing there," one whispered, "for 10 minutes, staring into the trees, not responding, just staring." I had no memory of it, nothing, only the voices, the radio, and that something in the forest, watching, waiting. The nights after that, they were worse. Every night at exactly 1 a.m., the voices returned, not moving, not speaking, just chanting, always surrounding the tower, always closer than before. I had to face it. I couldn't stay there, trapped in terror, listening to it whisper my name night after night. I told the others I'd go down again. I needed to prove it wasn't real, that it was just my mind. But as I stepped onto the trail, the chanting didn't fade. It got louder, more urgent, circling me, wrapping around me. I shone my flashlight into the trees. Nothing but dark, endless forest. Then the radio, it came alive again, not with static but with voices. My voice and another, hollow, low, unearthly, repeating my name with the chanting. I ran. I don't know how fast. Roots tore at my shoes, branches scraped my arms, my flashlight bounced, and then I tripped. The beam rolled across the ground, flickering, and in that brief flash, I saw it. Something tall, wrong. Not human, watching me, waiting. I barely made it back to the tower, gasping for air. But the others, they weren't afraid. They were calm, too calm. Their eyes, empty, hollow, like they weren't even human anymore. Then I heard it, the chanting, coming from inside the tower. The floorboards beneath us creaked, groaned, as if something was moving beneath us. I grabbed my flashlight, pointed it at the floor hatch. The radio crackled. "Don't look down." My blood ran cold. The chanting rose to a deafening crescendo. It was all around me, inside me. I didn't wait to see what was beneath. I ran, out, away. I never looked back. I never returned. The tower stands empty now. But sometimes when the wind blows through the pines, I swear I can still hear them, whispering my name, waiting for the next fool who dares climb down into the forest. If you ever find yourself alone in the wilderness at night, far from towns, far from safety, and you hear voices calling, don't go looking. Don't answer. Don't even think about it. Some things are not meant to be found. I don't know how long I've been driving. The fuel gauge says full. The engine is warm, the road is straight, but the sun has not moved, and the kangaroo on the asphalt in front of me is still bleeding. If you've ever driven through the Nullarbor Plain, you know how empty it is. No trees, no towns, no signs of life. Just road and sky, stretching so far it feels fake. I thought the worst thing out here would be boredom. I was wrong, because roads aren't supposed to loop. Dead things aren't supposed to get fresher. And the desert isn't supposed to breathe. I was traveling alone, no plan, just driving west to clear my head. The Nullarbor has a reputation. People say it feels endless, but I had music, snacks, a full tank. I wasn't worried. The sun was already low when I entered, turning everything orange and red. Hours passed, no intersections, no animals, no radio stations. That's when the radio cut to static, not the normal kind. This sounded thick, heavy, like something stuck between channels. I reached to change it, and that's when I heard breathing, not mine, slow, wet, too close. I hit the kangaroo just after midnight. It came out of nowhere, a blur, a thud so loud it shook my teeth. I slammed the brakes and got out. The body was twisted, broken, clearly dead, blood soaked into the road. I remember feeling sick, but relieved it wasn't worse. I dragged it to the side, got back in, kept driving. The radio kept hissing. I didn't notice the sun hadn't risen. An hour later, I saw it again. The kangaroo, same place, same position, but this time it wasn't as damaged, less blood, skin not as torn. I told myself it was another one, that they all looked the same at night. Then the radio crackled. The breathing came back, louder now, almost excited. I checked my phone. No signal, no time, battery full. The clock on the dash didn't move. I drove faster. The road never changed. No curves, no signs, no landmarks, just asphalt and red dirt. Then I saw the kangaroo again. This time, it looked like it had just died, warm, eyes still open. I didn't stop. I screamed and drove straight through it. The radio stopped hissing. For the first time it spoke, not words. Breaths layered over breaths, too many lungs, too close. Then something whispered my name. I don't remember telling anyone I was coming out here. I stopped the car. The engine kept running. The air outside was cold, wrong. I looked down and saw footprints forming behind me in the dust. They were walking toward me, but I wasn't moving. I felt watched, not from one direction, from everywhere. The desert wasn't empty, it was waiting. The breathing came from the road itself now, from the dirt, from inside my chest. I ran back to the car and locked the doors. The sun still didn't rise. I drove for what felt like weeks. Never slept, never ate, never ran out of fuel. The kangaroo stopped appearing. Instead, I started seeing myself, standing on the road, watching the car pass, smiling. They found me 2 days later. A road crew, midday. I was sitting in my car, dehydrated, barely conscious. They said I hadn't moved. I told them I'd been driving for weeks. They said the engine was cold, the tank was empty, the radio was off. But when they walked away, I heard breathing again. Sometimes late at night, I hear static. Sometimes I smell blood. Sometimes I dream of a road that never ends. And sometimes I wake up knowing the desert is still waiting for me to finish the drive. If you're enjoying these horror stories, hit that like button, comment your favorite story, and subscribe for more spine-chilling horror stories every week. I woke up to footsteps circling my bed. Slow, careful, heavy. But when I screamed and threw the door open, the snow outside the cabin was smooth and untouched, like no one had walked there for days. And that's when I realized something was already inside with us. My girlfriend Emma and I rented the cabin to disappear. No phones, no neighbors, just trees, snow, and silence stretching for miles in every direction. Northern Canada in winter isn't forgiving, but that was the point. We wanted quiet. We wanted isolation. The cabin was old, built from dark logs that looked almost black against the white snow. Smoke curled from the chimney even before we lit the fire, which should have been our first warning. The owner met us there just before dusk. He was an older man with pale eyes and hands that shook when he handed over the keys. As we were unloading our bags, he stopped me. "There's one rule," he said. "Never open the basement door." I laughed, thinking he was joking. He wasn't smiling. "No matter what you hear," he added. The basement door was inside the cabin, right across from the kitchen. It didn't look special, just old wood, darker than the rest of the floor, with deep scratches carved into it, long lines like something had dragged its nails across the surface. I asked the owner what was down there. "Nothing," he said too quickly, "and it needs to stay that way." Before I could ask more, he left, drove off without looking back. Emma laughed it off, but that night, I dreamed of hands pushing up through the floorboards, fingers bending the wrong way, reaching for my ankles. The first night was quiet, too quiet, no wind, no animals, just the sound of the fire popping and the cabin settling. At exactly 3:12 a.m., I woke up. There was a sound beneath us, not scratching, not banging, knocking, slow, deliberate. 3 knocks, pause, 3 knocks. Emma was awake too. I could feel her shaking. "It's probably an animal," she whispered. I wanted to believe that, but animals don't knock. The next day, we searched the area around the cabin. No tracks, no holes, nothing disturbed the snow. That night, the knocking came back, closer, louder, like someone standing directly beneath the floor, knocking up at us. Emma begged me to call the owner. No signal, no internet. The radio only played static, except for one moment, just one, where a voice whispered, "Let us out." I turned it off. Neither of us slept. By the third night, we were exhausted. When the knocking started again, it was frantic, faster, angrier. Emma was crying now. "What if something is trapped?" she said. "What if it's hurt?" I stood in front of the basement door, my hand hovering over the handle. I remembered the owner's eyes, his shaking hands. I wish I had listened. The door opened with a scream of rusted hinges. Cold air rushed up from below, carrying a smell like damp soil and old blood. The basement stairs led down into darkness. I flipped on the light. The basement was empty. No furniture, no boxes, just walls. Every inch of them covered in handprints, hundreds of them, small, large, some with too many fingers, all of them pointing upward, toward us. The knocking stopped the moment we saw the handprints. The silence afterward was worse. Emma screamed when she noticed something else. There were no footprints on the dusty floor, which meant the hands hadn't come from below. They had pressed outward, from inside the walls. We locked the basement door and pushed the table against it. It didn't matter. That night, footsteps moved through the cabin, heavy steps, slow steps. They circled our bedroom, paused outside the door. Breathing followed. Not human breathing, too many breaths at once. I watched the door handle turn slightly, just enough to test it. Then the footsteps moved away, downward, into the floor. At dawn, everything was silent. We opened the front door. The snow outside was perfect. No footprints, no disturbances. Whatever walked through the cabin never touched the ground. I went back to the basement door. The table was gone. The door was shut and nailed closed. From the outside, fresh nails, fresh wood. Something had sealed itself back in, or sealed us out. We didn't pack. We ran. The car barely started, but when it did, I swear I saw movement beneath the snow, shapes shifting, following us as we drove away. When we reached the road, my phone buzzed with a single message from an unknown number. "Thank you for reminding us where the door is." We never told anyone, but sometimes late at night, when everything is quiet, I hear knocking beneath my floor, slow, deliberate, and I don't live near a basement. I woke up standing in the middle of the street. The sun was just starting to rise, burning the sky orange and red. My head was pounding. My mouth was dry. And my car was parked perfectly in the center of the road, facing north. The engine was still warm. The keys were still in the ignition. I don't remember parking it there. And that was when I realized something much worse. The town around me was empty again. I'm a photographer, not weddings, not portraits. I photograph places that people have left behind. Ghost towns, forgotten highways, buildings that still feel like they're waiting for someone to come back. New Mexico is full of them. That day I was following an old map I found online. No name, no photos, just a dot in the desert and one line of text. Unlisted town, access road still open. That should have been my first warning. The town appeared suddenly like it had been hiding. One moment, nothing but desert. The next, rows of buildings, a diner, a gas station, a school, dozens of houses. Everything looked intact. No broken windows, no graffiti, no collapse. Just quiet, too quiet. I parked near the diner. The door wasn't locked. Inside, the air was warm. On the counter sat a coffee cup, still steaming. I touched it. Hot. Someone had been there seconds ago. I called out, "Hello?" My voice echoed back at me. No footsteps, no answer. Outside, I noticed the sand, footprints, fresh ones, leading between houses, around corners, into alleys, but I never saw who made them. It felt like the town was holding its breath. I entered a house, the door creaked open. Inside, the lights were off, but I heard something. A faucet, running, clear water poured into a sink like it had never stopped. I turned it off. The sound of water echoed through the house, then stopped, and suddenly, the silence felt angry. Every house was the same, signs of life, no people, beds warm, food half-eaten, radios softly humming static. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone, not like someone was behind me, but like the town itself was watching. By the time the sun started to set, my hands were shaking. I decided to leave. That's when I noticed something strange. Every house had curtains, all closed, at the exact same time. Night fell fast, and then every light in town turned on at once, windows glowing, porches lit, street lamps buzzing. I heard movement, doors closing, footsteps, whispers behind walls. I shouted, "Who's there?" Everything stopped. I saw a curtain move, slowly, like someone was peeking out. I ran toward it. The light shut off, every light shut off, total darkness, no wind, no sound, no insects. I stood there, breathing too loud. Then I heard something behind me, my car door, closing. After that, nothing. No memory, no dreams, just darkness. I woke up standing in the street, sunrise, empty town, just like before, except for my car, parked perfectly, engine warm, keys inside. On my dashboard was something new, a coffee cup, still warm. I drove away. I never looked back. But sometimes when I wake up at night, I swear I smell coffee, and I wonder if the town ever pretended to be empty, or if it was waiting for me to leave so it could breathe again. Thanks for watching Sinister Horror Diaries. Until next time, stay safe, stay scared, stay sinister.